Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 16th meeting of the Milton Conservation Commission. Members of the commission are appointed by the Select Board, and we are chartered with enforcing the rules and regulations of the State Wetlands Protection Act and the Milton Town bylaw governing the environmental regulations. As a matter of formality, we introduce ourselves and we ask and invite all members of the public or applicants who wish to speak to do so, but also to introduce themselves. My name is John Kiernan. Steve?
Steve Ivas, Conservation Agent.
Hans?
Hans
Todd?
Milton, Commission member.
Todd, go ahead.
Todd Hamilton, Commission member.
And Wendy?
Hi, I'm Wendy Garpo, one of the commissioners.
And Arthur?
Arthur Doyle, member.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And once again, I do reiterate that we do enjoy and invite members of the public and applicants to speak, ask questions, make comments, and to introduce yourselves for the purposes of the open meeting law record. First on the agenda tonight is 125 Fuller's Lane. This is an addition to a home in the buffer zone of the BVW. And I know Julie McGettrick is here, and I think others on her behalf.
Yes, for the record, Terry McGovern from Stenbeck and Taylor, representing the McGettricks. I see Steve has put, or someone has put the plan up on the screen, which is great. I can do a walkthrough of it, or if you were to allow me to share, I could basically share my own screen as well and blow that up and move it around, whatever is easiest.
If you could do that, is that doable, either Sean or Steve?
John, I believe you can give him access, right? Sean? And you have it now, Terry.
Okay, let me see if I can pull yours off. Hold on.
I'll pull mine off. It's not a
Okay.
problem. Okay. Easy enough. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Everybody should see the blown up plan. So I actually have three plans, the third one being the planting plan, but I'll walk through them very quickly. Just as a note to the commission, we did not receive a file number on this. No stress on our part. We understand the commission would probably like to take a look at the site as well. So we're not anticipating in any way closing this. That was never really part of the thought process. So I'll do my walkthrough and then take comments and questions, and we'll go from there. The McGettricks would like to construct primarily a garage addition with some second floor living space and some below garage living space to the left of the house at Fuller's Lane. The original house was built in 1900 roughly. They have a very awkward access into a garage that's located out at the right against the street, and I'd like to be able to take that garage down and come straight into the property rather than have to make that awkward angle turn off of that, as well as expand their living space. And on the existing conditions plan, we have the wetland line that was delineated by Pinebrook Consulting back earlier in the year, pretty much at the toe of slope. There's a small kind of a compost or fenced in area that may have been a garden at one time, just above that, just onto the property. An old garden shed that they propose to remove, a small play area that right now has a trampoline in it, and an existing porch that's going to be removed and replaced with a deck. And so the next plan down shows in red the areas that are to be constructed, including the proposed garage, which is a 24 by 24 garage with a mudroom to the left of the existing structure. And the existing porch is going to be removed and replaced with an open deck on sonotubes in the rear, at the rear of the house. We're showing that area is crosshatched in red. We also are allowing for basically a landscape stairway to come down to the back, which will just be timbers with either crushed stone or grass in between, or sand, but not an impervious surface. That garage will be removed. And in the front of the property, I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. Not only the garage will be removed, but a paved driveway that presently exists at the far left edge of the property will be removed. And that area will be grassed or landscaped. It will become pervious area, which will be about 336 square feet. We're also proposing to use pervious pavers once we get just basically in an apron of the driveway for pavement, to use pavers from there to the garage the rest of the way in. That retaining wall likewise will be removed, and a brick walk over to the far side, to the far right side, which will be rendered pretty much unusable because the entrance to that porch will go away. That likewise will be removed on that side and a retaining wall repaired. All of this work will take place outside of the 25-foot no disturb. The closest point to it will actually be the open deck in the rear, which will sit at about 35 feet, some 35 feet to the wetland line to the closest flag. We're showing that we're going to wrap the entire worked area of the site with a silt sock, and we're going to propose to put 4 dry wells, which will catch runoff from the addition, as well as some of the existing house towards the back, around the side. And I've shown a detail of that over to the side, showing that those will be a 4-foot precast with foot of stone around, so 6-foot total diameter by 3-foot deep dry well with the cover within 6 foot of access so that it can be periodically inspected for leaf debris or anything, although that doesn't usually happen too much. With a flapper valve, so that in the event there is clogging, water will run out over the surface. The next plan that I have to show is a planting plan, working on Steve's advice and then a little bit on my own. We're showing that in the rear below where the silt sock is, there are a couple of trees, primarily dead trees, that the McGettricks would like to remove as part of this process. I do actually have pictures of the trees, but I'm sure if you go out there and take a look, there's one fairly large maple that's overhanging the back of the existing porch that's pretty dead at this point. There's another beech that sits on the property line and actually leans in over the shed. It makes kind of an S turn. Doesn't grow straight up. It grows pretty much straight sideways, if anything. And 2 smaller trees in the area of proposed work. There's also an 18-inch hemlock that's definitely dead and gone at the front corner of the proposed garage that they'd like to remove. And there are 2 likewise fairly dead 18-inch maples, one of which came down in the recent storm, the nor'easter, at the rear of the property. What we propose to do is put some smaller trees back in along the property line to kind of help demarc where the property line to the town of Milton land is, as well as to create more of a shrub layer down at the bottom of the slope. The goal is to remove that small fenced-in garden area and that shed area. And then below that, within all of that 25-foot no disturb, to plant a combination of shrubs and small trees and some grasses in that area to kind of give it more of an understory than exists in that location now. You know, if the commission likes, some of that could be spread out over into, because there's a little bit of bare ground down in this area below the play area. We'd be willing to kind of spread that out into that town land to kind of create more of an understory that doesn't presently exist back there after the shed is removed. So with that, I'm going to let that go to Steve's comments regarding the planting, and then any comments and questions from the commission. And thank you for the opportunity to present this.
Thanks, Terry. My only comments are the trees that are on the list are quite small, more like whips than really trees. If you can see down at the bottom here, you've got 9 trees, red maples, tupelos, white oaks, and the specs for those are quite small. They're 4 to 5 foot trees. That'd be
Yeah, and you had noted 3.5-inch calipers, so we'll change that.
exactly, if that's possible. Getting them down there might be a hassle, but well worth it in the short run as well as the long run. That would be my only suggestion. Otherwise, you've got quite a few dead trees on the site as well, and I'd like to, so I haven't done the tree calculation yet. You know that we do trees right now. We're switching to a diameter breast height DBH 1-to-1 with some numbers for shrubs, but you've got quite a few shrubs as well in here. And I like the idea of the herbaceous as well. So you've done a nice job choosing the shrubs and herbaceous plants. I'll leave it right there.
Thank you. We did note too that to monitor them for 2 growing seasons, and I think I noted on the trees to be cut, at least the ones down the bottom that don't have to be removed, and to leave the stumps so that there's no excavating the stumps up, because that'll provide some additional habitat as well.
Just for your information, some folks in some towns now are leaving 8-foot stumps for wildlife habitat, particularly if it's near or close to a wetland. Just as an idea. Some people like that. I happen to be a fan of leaving an 8-foot stump.
Well, yeah,
As
Sam.
long as it's not going to fall on anyone.
That's a good caveat. Terry, can I ask you a question about the net increase or decrease of impervious surface? And I heard you clearly say that some of the currently paved surface is going to be taken out and replaced with pervious grassed area. And I appreciate that.
And I do have a coverage table on the site plan that I pulled back up. Basically, we're looking at a net decrease of about 50 square feet.
All right, what I was going to ask is what's the differential? I assume that the back porch going to a deck is going to be the same footprint. Am I correct?
The deck is bigger, but the deck is open where the porch area is closed in. So obviously runoff coming through the deck will just reach the ground. That porch area is an enclosed porch.
And what's going under the deck? Is there any kind of a slab or
Nope,
is it just grass?
Nope, just either grass or stone. It's going to be pervious.
All right. And what about the size of the garage? I know one is being removed, it's closer to the street. There's a 24 by 24 one going in. What's that differential?
Um, let's see, I'm just looking at the building up here. Well, the smaller garage is barely a one-car garage. Just in rough numbers, the new garage is approximately twice the size of the existing. But we're also taking out that paved drive and a good portion of the existing paved drive that comes into where the existing garage is. We're just leaving an apron at the street. I didn't break it down by building so much as I put total impervious area up in my coverage table with existing impervious area about 1,964 square feet, and the proposed afterward would be 1,914.
All right, no, I understand and appreciate that, this is really a net differential that we're looking for. But the reason I asked the question was I noted you've got 4 dry wells there and I see the locations. I just wanted to make sure that, from the roof area of the new garage, that there was appropriate capacity to take that. Now that's going to be a new area of water discharge. That's what I was actually looking at.
Yeah, we have 3 dry wells slotted for that. So that will take the runoff from that. The one in the far corner will cover the small addition and that back, probably that back gable, the one that's at the far top of the drawing. But we have 3 in the area of the new garage and mudroom. 6-foot diameter total, 3 foot deep.
All right, understand. I appreciate it. Questions from commissioners? I think it would be a good idea to take a look at this. I'm not shortchanging any questions now, but I think it would be a good idea to take a look at this.
Yeah, just one consideration ahead of time. I tend to look at the Google Street Views as part of my review, and I noticed that the actual road is pitched kind of odd, and I'm wondering if there's a need for potential erosion controls coming from the house across the street. And then more importantly, I think there's a catch basin right by the end of the garage, which will likely need to be protected. Right there, yep.
Yeah, it's kind of hiding in there, but it's there. Yeah.
So
we can do that. We can certainly run a silt sock around it or put a silt pillow in it and specify, probably particularly when the garage is being removed and the driveway worked on, to put a barrier in there with a construction entrance just through that period.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, that's perfectly fine.
All right, good catch, Hans. Any other thoughts or questions before we see it? All right, are people available this Saturday?
I can be up there to meet you.
All right. Todd, are you available Saturday morning?
What time are you thinking?
8:30?
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah,
8:30?
Okay.
I was thinking 6:30.
I know you were, Todd. I know.
Well, but poor Steve has to come from far, far away.
Todd, could you
8:30.
do it if it's 8:30?
8:30.
All right. And Wendy, you're good with that?
Yes, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Hans?
Yeah, Steve's already confirmed my availability before the meeting started, so
Yeah, very nice.
I am available.
All right, great. Arthur? No, I can't see Arthur on my screen.
It should work for me.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So did I miss anybody? I don't. I know that Ingrid cannot make it, but we will have a quorum on Saturday. So that, Terry, that would be, and Julie too. That would be this Saturday at 8:30 at your house.
Okay,
Is that okay?
that's fine.
Perfect. Now, are there any abutters or members of the public that would like to make a comment, ask a question, state a concern? Hearing none, with the assent of the applicant, may we continue this until this Saturday at 8:30 at 125 Fuller's Lane.
Yes,
All right, perfect. All right, thanks all. Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you very much, Julie.
thank you very much. We'll see you
Thanks.
Saturday.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Terry.
All right, next on the agenda is 347 Hillside Street. This is a septic repair in the buffer zone of a BVW.
Hi there.
Can people see that screen?
No.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know, John. I'll see if I can't figure out how to do this. Okay, here we go. There's the sharing screen. Okay, so let's see if we can share this screen. How's that?
Here you go. That's great. Thanks.
Good. And Bob, can you use that?
I can.
Excellent.
So, hi, my name's Bob Vay. I'll be representing Claude Greenberg from 347 Hillside Street. We have an existing 3-bedroom home that currently has 2 cesspools servicing the property, and they are in failure. You can see them on the plan there. They're to the rear of the deck within the 50 to 100 foot buffer area. I've had the wetlands flagged, and I've designed a system that consists of a 1,500 gallon tank that picks up the waistline in line with the first cesspool. It then goes to a 1,000 gallon pump chamber, still within the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone. And then it goes to an Elgin leach field, which is outside of the 100 foot buffer zone. There will be some grading outside of the 100 foot buffer zone. The grading itself, and there's also be a little bit of grading around the tank, as you can see by the 104 elevation around my tank. I have also proposed an erosion control barrier covering the entire rear of the property. And currently, all this work is within previously disturbed areas. It's all grass down to the edge of the wood lines. And I think, what's
he's
that?
got 9A, the flag 9A was put in as well, okay? It's right.
And thank you for the public's benefit. We should announce that we actually did inspect this property on the 23rd of October when we were at 339 Hillside. So the commission members have had an opportunity to see the flags. And we did ask for an adjustment between 9 and 10. So we now have a new 9A. Steve, can you with your cursor point out where that is? Because I'm
Sure. Can you see
having
the
a trouble
cursor?
locating.
The cursor's right there around it. Can you see that movement?
No, I can't, to be honest with you.
Geez, I'm sorry.
Now I got you. Now it is just got it.
There we go.
That's it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Right there. Okay.
Just to
Right.
clarify, who did the delineation and when was it done?
Dan O'Driscoll, and it was done, I believe, in early October.
Dan O'Driscoll is
He's a surveyor from Medway who's also licensed to flag wetlands.
yeah, you don't need a license in Massachusetts.
No, you don't. But there's a federal PWS, and I suggested with 9A should go as well. I went out there and took a look at the soils. This 9A is basically at the toe of a slope, right there at that location.
And so the commission members that were not present on the 23rd of October when we were there, just to the right of 9A to 10 is the driveway in from Hillside Street that goes to
333, John.
is it 333? Or is it
And
339?
It's 339.
339.
And 333, way
Right,
back,
that's the new one going way back.
right.
Correct. All right. And it's a pretty sensitive area. That's why we were so concerned with looking at that delineation in that area. So with that amendment, I know I'm comfortable with that change. So I don't know if the others that saw it want to speak up as well. All right, so this looks like, I mean, this is a notice of intent. Are there any questions? It appears to be an improvement. And it goes, replace 2 failing septic systems, or are they the old cesspools, or is it a
Cesspools.
They're old cesspools and and the homeowner has been pumping far too often,
all right.
which is why he wants to repair it.
Sounds like a good idea. Questions from commissioners? Questions from members of the public, abutters, or otherwise?
So I just want to, sorry, I did bring up the question earlier about, it's unusual to have this stamped by a registered sanitician as opposed to a PE. And so I guess so Norfolk Engineering, is that an engineering firm or is that?
We design septic systems. We do about 75 to 100 a year. And a registered sanitarian is allowed to design septic systems up to 2,000 gallons of water a day. This system is 330 gallons per day.
And that's under the Title V regulations?
Yes.
But you're not an engineering firm, correct?
Correct.
So you don't have a PE on staff?
We don't anymore. We had one, but he passed away.
Hans, for the rest of the commission members, this is an issue that I've had an opportunity to discuss with Steve and not directly with Hans, but I know the issue, and I thought it was a question of a registered surveyor, but this is a registered sanitation person,
Sanitarian.
Sanitarian, okay. All right, so I might have been confused. I thought we were talking about a registered surveyor, because I'm not concerned if the town bylaw doesn't identify what the requisite professional stamp is, as long as we follow the DEP. And my understanding was that the RS was recognized by the DEP, but I might have the wrong S. Hans, do you know, what does DEP recognize? The registered surveyor or the registered sanitarian?
So there are in the NOI application, there's direction specifically as to what sort of registered or licensed professionals are accepted, and sanitarian is referenced as one of the ones that can be considered. So, and again, I'm only bringing this up because I don't recall having seen something stamped by a registered sanitarian come across the commission. So
I do know this, John, when it goes to Board of Health, a PE reviews for the Board of Health. The Board of Health doesn't do their own review. They send it out to an engineering firm.
Yes, and that's Paul Brogna of Duxbury that they sent it to. I just
Yeah, he's a PE and he will scrutinize the plan. I can tell you, I've worked with him on a couple things.
So have I, and he's very, very detailed.
Yeah, very thorough.
And I've already been.
Sorry, Bob, you just broke up.
We lost you. Can you say it again?
I think he's frozen.
I think he's gone.
Oh,
Oh, no.
He's got to get back.
So as standard practice, we do require the Board of Health sign off, correct?
Yes.
You are correct.
So provided the Board of Health signs off on it,
Yeah,
pending-
he can't even build the system without the Board of Health inspecting it the whole way.
Yes,
So he couldn't do anything without the Board of Health anyways.
Yeah, so as long as there's a PE getting eyes on it, I'm fine with it.
Where will
All right.
that be noted? If I may ask,
Say that again.
where will that be documented?
The Board of Health actually issues a permit for it. It's my understanding.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Correct.
and they do complete inspections too, John.
Will that be submitted with the documents that we have here?
Yeah, we
can-
usually ask for the Board of
We
Health
can
sign
ask
off.
for that, yes.
I was wondering if in this instance we should.
Sure. I agree, Arthur. I think that's a good idea. And I'm comfortable, as long as, DEP recognizes the registered sanitarium, then I'm comfortable with it. And we've got some bootstraps here because we've got the Board of Health and the PE stamp as well. And Arthur's point and Hans's original point, I think, are well taken. And I think if we require that they submit that Board of Health permit approval with a PE stamp on it, then I think we're covered in all ways.
And so the other formality that we usually ask is, where's the closest sewer connection? And has that been considered? So is town sewer, I don't know if it's available on Hillside Street or not.
No, it's not. It's to my knowledge. I mean, that was an early consideration, and there's nothing.
Okay, yeah, we just want to check the box to make sure that's.
Yeah, I mean, we're 0.8 of a mile from Randolph Ave, from Route 28, and
Understood. Okay,
and folks, I wanted to just say that before Bob froze, and of course I'm frozen too because without Bob here, I'm kind of dead in the water. But
it's okay.
Claude, can you not hear me now?
Now I hear you, Bob.
Oh, okay. I know I was frozen for a while, but I thought I came back.
Very long time. Too long. You were starting to say, Bob, that we already had some input from the PE Paul from Duxbury.
Yes. We have input, and in fact, this plan reflects some of his input.
So he's already done a review on it.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, so we can make a condition of the order of conditions to submit the Board of Health's approval, which will include reliance upon the PE stamp by Paul Brogner. Does that make everybody comfortable?
It won't be a stamp, John. It'll just be, he'll sign off on it that they can go ahead and build it and it meets all the requirements.
Understood.
But in this case, given that the state does reference the licensed sanitarian, I think that covers any potential gaps or concern.
I agree.
I agree with that.
And it's
All
great
right.
to have this upgrade.
Yes, I think so.
Oh, it's much better for the ground.
All right, if there are abutters, members of the public, anything to be said, heard, questioned? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the order of conditions with the special conditions that we have already identified, and that is to make sure that the Board of Health approval is included in our file as well. And then, for the benefit of Claude and Bob, we do have standard conditions that any of your equipment cannot be stored overnight in our jurisdiction or refueled. I don't think that's going to be an issue for you, but that is part of our regular condition. Are there any other special conditions that the commission members can think of? Hearing none, is there a motion to issue the order of conditions with the conditions that have been mentioned?
So moved, John.
Thanks, Wendy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Arthur. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, you know what? I think under the new executive order, we should
Roll
take
call.
a roll call vote. Yeah, so I apologize for starting that off, but so the motion has been made, seconded. There's no discussion. So Arthur Doyle, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Wendy, how do you vote? Todd, how do you vote?
Yes.
Hans, how do you vote?
Yes.
And John Kiernan, I vote yes as well. Unanimous. All right, thank you very much.
Is
Thank
Claude
you.
still there?
Is who still there?
Claude,
I'm still here.
Yeah.
when we last saw you, you were heading off that afternoon for a trip.
That's right, Arthur.
How did it go?
It was fantastic. It was 1 week in the Bilbao, Spain area. And being an architect, I have to recommend Frank Gehry's Guggenheim Museum. It's just it's one of the must-sees. And it's a wonderful area. So, and Bilbao is a sleeper of a beautiful city that I didn't know about.
Yeah,
And I must-
you really got us excited about that. Thank you.
And I must say that having traveled, I feel better. You know, it seemed comfortable. You know, all the COVID protocol in place, and it's quite a comfortable feeling to be traveling and then to be eating primarily outdoors or with all the mask mandates are in effect. People are using a lot of common sense, so it felt safe and liberating.
It's good to hear, Claude.
Yep, the north coast of Spain is quite beautiful. I've spent some time there,
Ah,
including
it is.
Bilbao.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right, Claude, we thank you very much. Bob, we thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, next on the agenda is the enforcement order at 82 Cliff Road. And this is for the purpose of review of a plan by Strong Engineering. And for the benefit of the public, 82 Cliff Road is an area that we had issued an enforcement order to address some issues of fill and the remaining, I guess, well, this combination of the elevation and the grade down towards the river, and given the proximity of the Neponset River, we asked the homeowner to remedy the situation by pulling back and changing the grade. And we asked that his plan for remediation be supported by stamped, that is a engineering plan stamped by PE. And Strong Engineering worked with Mr. Robbie Powers and his wife, and this is the plan. Steve, can you describe what we're looking at?
Certainly, be happy to. Let me grab my little hand here. And so here on the left-hand side of the plan, we have the Neponset River. This is the edge of water on the west side. Here's the edge of water on the east side. And you'll notice there's a little double arrow line here. And this says 19 feet between the bottom of the slope below 82 Cliff Road and the river itself. And top of bank to existing grade is 2-to-1 match. That's a max. That's the proposed location of the alteration of the slope itself, right there. Here is the 100-foot riverfront area, this dashed line here, and this dashed line is the 200-foot riverfront area. And Dan Armstrong signed and stamped the plan here on the 4th of November. He is a civil engineer, PE. And there's a tree to be removed. That large tree in the oak tree in the backyard is to be removed. It's located right there. So there you have it. There's the plan.
All right, thank you very much. And for the public's benefit, the Conservation Commission has actually been to the site on several occasions. And the remediation plan was agreed to by the homeowners. They're going to pull that slope back, make sure it's stable so nothing will erode into the river, and it will ultimately protect the river. The tree that was removed, I think we were out there, inspected it, and it did appear to be leaning over the house, and we did authorize its removal. Is there anything further in terms of any obligation on the part of the homeowner? I'm not aware of any. I think he has agreed to do that which we have instructed him or requested that he do. Is there anything further that anybody would like to address And one of the issues that comes up periodically on an enforcement order as to whether or not a fine is appropriate for violating the Wetlands Protection Act and the town bylaw. In this case, I think our primary obligation is to make sure that the problem is fixed, which I think has been done and now is supported by this stamped engineering plan. But if anybody thinks that a fine should be included with this, then this is the appropriate time. Is there any such suggestion?
No, John, but I should note that there's a silt sock at the bottom of the slope as well. I'm
Good.
sorry, I forgot to mention that. That's
All right.
important to mention.
All right. Any questions, comments, suggestions by commission members? Are there abutters or members of the public that have a question and would like to make a comment? Hearing none and seeing none, I suggest that we await the completion of the project to remediate the improper fill, and when it's appropriately removed, graded, and reseeded, or at least stabilized, then Steve, I think you could probably stay in touch with Mr. Powers and at some point make an inspection. It may not be done for a while, but it certainly should be stabilized over the winter. And I wonder if you could just coordinate that with Mr. Powers to make sure that we're kept apprised of what's going on.
I'd be happy to, John.
All right, thanks. Is there anything else on this agenda item? And, yes, Lynn?
I would just like to say that I appreciate Mr. and Mrs. Powers, the homeowners' willingness to work with us and collaborate and to resolve the issue.
Great. I agree, Wendy. Thank you very much for saying that.
And also a tip of the hat to Steve for going the distance and being able to arrange for Daniel Armstrong to work and certify this situation. Thanks, Steve.
Yes,
Sure.
indeed. Thank you, Steve.
And extend our gratitude to Dan Armstrong as well, Steve, if you would.
I should be
Indeed.
happy to. Yep.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is number 4. This is an update to EPA Superfund designation. And I think, Arthur, you're in a good position to report on this.
Well, thanks, John. Just a note that the commission had unanimously endorsed the candidacy of the 3.7 mile section of the lower Neponset River from Motherbrook to the Baker Dam for the removal of toxicity and restoration. It's one of the nation's oldest industrial waterways from colonial times well into the last century. And the select board also unanimously endorsed the candidacy of this particular project as a Superfund project and sent out communications to that effect to the EPA, both electronically and in hard copy. And is enclosed in the folder a copy of the letter from the select board for everybody.
It's good. It's good news all around. We salute the select board for being proactive and reaching out and endorsing the project. And we certainly have joined in that. We passed a formal resolution. So if the public is unaware, there is a proposal to designate this area for cleanup, which typically costs in the gazillions of dollars range. And it's almost impossible to do unless you have the support of the federal government. So to be named to the national priorities list by the EPA is a huge step forward in cleaning up the river, getting rid of the PCBs and getting the fish and wildlife back in action. So this is great news all around. So thank you, Arthur, and thanks to the select board and thanks to the EPA for this one.
And to the Concom.
Yes, of course. We're the ultimate beneficiaries. All right, so that is number
John
4.
just wants to go smell fishing in a few years, right, John?
Yeah, you got it. All right, that brings us up to our additional business. And first on the list is Jerry Burke. And Jerry Burke's term as Conservation Commissioner is ending on the 31st of November of this year. And he was unable to make tonight's meeting, which would have been his last because he has declined a reappointment to the commission. But we want to take this opportunity to thank Jerry for his service, his enthusiasm, his energy, and the commitment that he brought to both the Conservation Commission and to the citizens of the town of Milton. And if you don't know that, he actually brought some special expertise. He was for many years in the Senate Legal Counsel's office, and he worked on legislation and regulatory issues, and he brings a huge background in that arena. And that was of great service to us in terms of understanding regulations and the maze of legislation that governs environmental protection. So we thank Jerry. We wish him well in the future, and we will maintain all contacts. He's still a friend, and I'm sure that our future will be joined, and we look forward to that. So thanks to Jerry, and we should probably pass some kind of an official formal resolution thanking him for his service. So if there's a motion to do so, I would entertain that at this point.
So
Wendy?
moved. Yes, definitely.
All right. Todd, was that a second?
Oh, yes.
All right, that's great. Thank you very much. Any discussion on a resolution to express our gratitude for the service and dedication and commitment of Jerry Burke? No discussion. All in favor of that resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did it again. All right, sorry. All right, Hans, what say you?
Emphatic yes.
All right, Wendy, yes.
Yeah, definitely yes.
All right, Arthur.
Yes, sir.
All right, Todd Hamilton.
Yes.
All right, and John Kiernan is a resounding yes as well. Unanimous. All right, thanks to all. Thanks to Jerry Burke. Next on our additional business, we have DEP notice of a site visit at 107, 111 Highland Street. This is the DEP taking a look at the site pursuant to the appeal for a superseding order. Some of the neighbors have filed an appeal of our RDA and the ANRAD that we issued, I guess, last month. And that's gone to the DEP. And Steve, could you tell us what the plan is for this Friday?
Yeah, the plan is to meet at 107, the former house site, and take it from there. The DEP will be there, and they'll be running the meeting, I would imagine. And I'd be happy to represent the Conservation Commission, and I'm sure we'll have a cast of thousands from the neighborhood as
Sure
well.
enough. Sure enough. If anybody else would like to go, I encourage you to do so. I am not available Thursday and Friday. I'm in New Jersey, my office there, so I will not be there. Anybody is entitled to go if they want to go. We just have to be careful. If there's a quorum, we have to announce it. So we'd need to know tonight, because we'd have to notify the public that there was an official meeting. But if we have less than a quorum attending, then we don't have to announce it. It would be a subcommittee, or you'd be on an individual expedition. Hans, do you want to go?
I can't.
Okay.
I have.
When? Okay.
It's 1:30 on Thursday, is that correct?
I think it's Friday, isn't it?
It's Friday at 10 o'clock a.m.
Not possible, thank you. Oh,
Okay. Wendy?
We'll get you on Thursday as well, Arthur. Don't worry.
I'm afraid I have a conflict.
Okay. Todd?
I'm not around at all.
All right. That makes it easy. No quorum. Steve, you'll
But
be.
I want to ask one question, John. What's it called? What's the place next door to that? Is that Winter Valley?
Yes.
Winter Valley, if I'm not mistaken, going back a while back, they've already proved the intermittent stream thing a while back, didn't they? They already took this to a fight, I believe.
I don't remember. We've been up at Winter Valley over the years many times. And I don't remember an issue over intermittent versus perennial. But
Well,
there are other issues, and that's not, I don't think that's their only concern.
Well, I think that was the biggest one they were trying to fight, and they were trying to fight the drainage, but I spoke
Yeah,
to,
the drainage, yes.
yeah, I called Bill Clark just because I remember speaking to him about this a long time ago. And he said that they've already been through quite the fight with the drainage in the intermittent stream up there. So I don't know much more than that, but when I spoke to him about it, that's the comment he made to me. So I might follow that up some more tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, that's fine. And I think Kathy is back in the, Steve, am I correct? Kathy's back in the office?
Yes, part-time
Right,
at least, yes.
So, Todd, she could probably help you on producing the files we have at 600 Canton Avenue. That's Winter
Yeah, I was
Valley.
going to call Bill just to see if he could streamline it, knowing what he knows from years past.
Sure.
To
And all of
narrow it
that
down.
information should be available to DEP as well.
Yeah, that's what I wanted Steve to know about, because that's what Bill told me when I spoke to him.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I didn't know that happened.
I didn't either, Steve. He had called me for something else. And then I got to talking to him and asking him questions because he seemed to know so much that went on with that. So that's why I asked him.
That's helpful.
So,
Very helpful.
Todd, one thing to keep in mind is that the classification of the stream could change depending on observations that are made. So if it was deemed intermittent or perennial at one point, if the mapping hasn't changed, there can be new observations made to the standards that are detailed in the Wetlands Protection Act that could ultimately change that classification. But
No, I understand. And DEP can change, they can change it themselves too.
that's what I mean, is that the DEP
Yeah.
standard for whether a stream's intermittent or perennial.
I just wanted to know because he said Winter Valley went through quite a bit of stuff over the years.
I'm sure they did. Yeah.
That was why I was interested to know.
Yep.
All right, Steve, will you just make sure that there's coordination in terms of available data for DEP to assist them in their efforts?
Absolutely.
All right. That actually takes care of B and C because both the RDA and the ANRAD are both under appeal, and they'll both be addressed at 10 o'clock on the 19th. The next item of additional business is a site meeting regarding the National Grid access road to the take station. That's a gas pump station. And that is the one that's on for Thursday at 1:30, Arthur. That may have been the one that you were thinking of.
Okay, I'll look at my calendar.
All right. Well, Steve, while he's looking for his calendar, can you describe what's going on here?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at the location of a damaged culvert. They would like to, National Grid would like to replace a culvert to take the weight of a large heating unit, I guess, for the site. And they need to replace the culvert, and we're going to be looking at the area resources as well as methods to protect the resources from any damage while they're replacing the culvert.
What's the condition of the existing culvert?
Don't know, haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay. So, but
This came up several years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe, when we were doing the wind turbine project next to the golf course where the methane outtake is now. And at the time, we actually issued the order of conditions to allow the wind turbine to be built. And in the planning process, the pieces of the wind turbine, pretty heavy, and it was a gigantic truck that was coming in. And so they did a study of the culverts at that time. We're probably talking, I'm going to guess, 2013, 2014, somewhere in that vicinity. And it was deemed there was insufficient cover over the culvert, number one. Number two, whatever the structure, I don't know if it was plastic or cast iron, I don't know what it is, or it was concrete, but it was deemed insufficient to handle the weight of the truck. So at the time, one of the conditions was that they would replace that culvert before the truck would come in. The permit was appealed to DEP. It was approved by DEP. It was appealed to the Superior Court. It was approved by the Superior Court. And then it went to arbitration because it was part of the lease. And the arbitrator ruled against the town. So the project failed and the culvert was never fixed. But I think the data as to the condition of the culvert and the specs are in the file for the wind turbine that would be in our office with Kathy Bowen. So, Steve, you may want to, make sure that they know that.
Yes, I shall. Don't worry.
So basically, John, we have no say.
No, I don't think that's true. I mean, it's still jurisdictional for us.
No, but I'm saying if DEP overrides it, gives them the green light to put it in, what can we do?
There's not an existing filing yet, right?
No, there's no existing filing. This is just,
This is
information.
That's the
preliminary
history.
filing. This is preliminary.
Yeah, I just gave you the history.
Right.
Okay.
If the culvert was deemed insufficient to handle the weight of large trucks.
No, I get it. I understand it.
And this is a meeting to talk about how to go through the filing, actually. So this is pre-filing, Todd.
Okay.
That's all. And I thought it was a great idea. So that's
Yeah.
why we're all gonna, meet out there. I'm wondering who's bringing the condiments.
All right, that's the last thing on the list we have for additional business. Is there anything else? Any other additional business?
One thing for additional business, I had a chat with Peter Jackson today, who is, they finally got a certificate of compliance for the previous work on the hiking trail around Turner's Pond. So now that allows them to do the next project at Turner's Pond. This was the project that was done 2010, 2011. They added some fill and did some compensatory storage. Well, they'll need another area for compensatory storage this time. And Peter would like to have an informal meeting with the Concom members to show them possible locations for the additional compensatory storage areas. Yes, it goes on forever.
Being familiar with the area, I think that the kids in the neighborhood have already created some compensatory storage in the form of a bike jump area off the side of the pond.
Exactly. Anyway, I thought that we, since we're going to be out on Saturday morning, 8:30 over at Fuller's Lane, we may wish to head over to the Turner's Pond and see if we can see the eagle that I saw earlier this year.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
That's good. That's, I think that makes good sense. It won't be lengthy and we don't have a long agenda. We just have 125 Fullers. So why don't we put that on the agenda for, 9 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Sure. And one more thing, just as a advisement, the residential structure and the water tank over at 12, I think it's 1280, if I'm not mistaken, Canton Ave, is down. The residential structure is down, and the area is almost 100% stabilized. If you want to walk up in or drive up in, I had it look at it earlier this week, yesterday. It looks great.
Oh, and that address is David and Marge Jeffries' home?
Yes, sorry. Yep.
All right. And you'll remember that I think two of the sons came in and made a proposal to raise the home and to seal the well.
That's right. And also take away the water tank for the well. That's gone. And the barn is still there, however. There's the remaining barn. And I think Arthur had another issue regarding light pollution at Turner's Pond, actually.
Uh-huh.
Going back to Turner's Pond, thank you, Steve. I shared with John and Steve shortly before our meeting a communication from Melinda Collins, who is another member of the Select Board and also a former member of the Conservation Commission, having served on it for about 5 years. And Melinda had received a communication from a person in the area of Turner's Pond who was inquiring about whether or not the Conservation Commission or the state has anything in the way of regulations about lighting in proximity to regulated water bodies. And that some people, apparently, one person in particular, one property owner has lighting going out onto the pond. Or allegedly so. I haven't not seen it. And it raises a question about dark sky lighting being interfered with and so on down the line. So I defer this to you, and then I have one other item after this.
It's an interesting issue as to whether or not it's jurisdictional to us. I know that we typically, when there's new construction, we do address the issue of dark sky lighting and having the trying to eliminate light pollution. It's pretty common for us. But the only time I've ever seen a fight over actual jurisdiction over light pollution is actually in the wind turbine, because there were two issues that came up. One was the noise of the wind turbine. And so the question became, is noise pollution within our jurisdiction? And the other one was the flicker, because as the blades went around, the flicker was supposed to bother the golfers. And it became a controversy as to whether or not we had jurisdiction. And I'm going to confess ignorance here, because I know that we did over one and not the other. And I always get them backwards, so I won't even guess as to which one is jurisdictional. However, light is something that we typically do address. And I'll quote Judith Darrell Kemp. She was always concerned with lights, and she didn't want upward-facing lights in the garden because it would interfere with birds, not just migratory birds, but the local birds that are not going anywhere. And I know that was near and dear to her heart. So if we were to ask her in absentia, do we have jurisdiction? She'd say a resounding yes, we do. I will actually, do some further research. Steve, you might have more up to date knowledge than I on whether or not it is a jurisdictional issue still.
Nothing comes to mind immediately, but I can certainly look around.
Okay.
So would it be fair to say in response at this particular time that we have no known jurisdiction, but it will be, but the issue will be researched?
Yes. To see whether or not the impact on the wildlife would provide a jurisdiction.
Thank you.
I mean, I would defer this to zoning more than anything else.
Yeah, and they make a reference in the communication, Hans, if I recall correctly. Let me scroll down and see if I remember this properly toward the conclusion, or it could be suggested to the planning board for their consideration, to your point.
But I don't know if they can come in after the fact. I mean, if something's been properly, if they're in compliance with zoning regs and the planning board.
That's my point.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they can come in after the fact and say, turn your light on. If it was new construction, they could. And
Yes.
say, use, compliant, dark sky compliant lighting. I think I know this only because I'm a member of the public, not from the Conservation Commission, but wasn't the the Pulte home development off of Equity Road? I can't even think of the name of it because I always recuse myself.
Yes.
Wasn't that? Didn't you folks come in with a downward face lighting for compliance?
There was, and there was actually the issue was that there was conflicting direction from under the special permit and the conditions from the commission. So the commission required dark sky compliant lighting as a condition. However, I don't know if it was planning or zoning, wanted a specific architectural style light. So like the what do they call them? Acorn lights that are used in East Milton Square.
Yes.
And those were what was directed. That's what the applicant was directed to use, and those are not remotely dark sky compliant. So he paid extra for those lights to, and then he tried to make them dark sky compliant. So to appease the commission. But the question of whether or not it was in fact under our jurisdiction beyond just being a condition of the notice of intent application was never really resolved.
Agreed.
All right. So I think the answer, Arthur, is we will research
Maybe.
that issue as to jurisdictional reach.
I'm familiar, Arthur, with the lights in question. And they are extremely bright, and they are not frankly, I'm not sure what the intent of these lights are. They're not like they're projected onto a living area or parking area or anything like that. They actually seem to be projected onto the pond itself. And you can see them all the way clearly from the other side of Turner's Pond.
Were they used for skating purposes at any time? Seriously.
I don't know, but I know that skating hasn't been allowed on Turner's Pond for some time.
Okay.
So one other thing to note is that there was another recent application where we were asked to provide a decision on viewshed jurisdiction. I don't know if you remember that. There was, I don't remember the address, and we actually took a pass at that. It was near Squantum Street, I think, California.
What was the jurisdiction?
It was on Hurlcroft.
What was the issue, though?
And a butter we had approved somebody was in for to put an addition on their home.
The viewscape.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it was going to limit the view of the city of Boston, the skyline.
Yes.
Right. Oh yeah, I know because they're right down the street from me. I know that house well.
Yes, and so we passed on asserting jurisdiction on the viewscape.
Correct.
So, I mean, this lighting, I would think, would be a similar circumstance, even though it's at the other end of the spectrum.
True, unless it impacts the wildlife. I mean, if there's some adverse impact on wildlife. But I do believe there is some case law on, and again, I don't know whether the case law is on the light or the sound, but there is case law on one of them, and I'll see if I can find out which one it is.
Okay.
I will say that the lights are bright enough that
Oh, yeah.
they are
I know
painful
exactly what you're
to
talking
me as
about.
a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
The lights are painfully bright.
Yeah, it's obtrusive,
for
but it's
people.
just, the question is whether or not we have a say in it. I'd like to have a say in it, but that's, sometimes we just don't get to. So.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I think jurisdiction is something that we have to be very careful of and honor
Right.
in the extreme. But I think it's worth exploring it, and I think it's appropriate that we do investigate further, and I will do that.
Okay.
John, on that note, would it be fair to put this item on the agenda for our next meeting and to have the documents that I shared with you and Steve shared with all the members of the commission
Yes,
at that time?
yes, I believe that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other items for additional business?
One more, John.
Sure.
This comes from the Master Plan Implementation Committee, and Steve has been collaborating with us. MPIC held a meeting last night. Part of that meeting was held with the library director and one of the trustees of the library. They have isolated two pieces of land for consideration for additional parking for the library. One, as you may recall, is along Reedsdale Road, proximate to the library itself. Another one is on Canton Avenue between the Yellow House, which was moved several years ago to make room for the current parking lot to the library, and the Powder House. And the Master Plan Implementation Committee is requesting that both of those parcels be flagged to see what the wetland lines are for each of those parcels. And then they'd be working on also having that information put on an engineering plan with possibly the design of a proposed parking. So they requested in the immediate time is to have both of those pieces flagged.
Sure. Those are, one of them I'm very familiar with. They're both sensitive areas, but
Correct.
in back of the Powder House would be as you get down the hill, would be the police station.
That's correct.
And I can't visualize how much distance there is between the Powder House, which I'm sure the Historical Society will protect like the Alamo. So how much between that and the Yellow House, I don't know. But on the Reedsdale Road side, I'm very familiar with that. I know that's a sensitive area. Steve, is that something that you could assist in flagging
Yes, of course. Happy to do it.
for the town?
This is a good time of year to do that, flagging, because the leaves are gone. And so
Yep.
it's easier to flag at this time of year, literally.
Steve,
That
they're
was-
interested in a possible timeline and asked me to get back to them with a sense of what might be reasonable.
Sure, I should be able to get out there within the next 2 weeks. How's that?
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
That was, Steve, just for, historic, the side on Reedsdale Road was like a haven for skunk cabbage. That was my first introduction to skunk cabbage.
But not your last,
No, no.
especially on Robbins, right?
Yes, indeed. Where it was harvested.
I believe it. I believe it.
All right, any other additional business? That's it. I think we're done. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, second? Yes, you're good for a second on that one, Todd. Thank you. All right. Any discussion? I think this one we can do, as a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous again. All right, thanks all, and we'll see you Saturday morning at 8:30 at 125 Fuller's. All right?
Great.
John,
Thank you, everyone.
8:46 for setting records.
I know.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I wish Sherry
We'll
was
do the
here.
next one at 6.
All right, thanks, guys.
Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving,
everyone.
everybody.
All right.
Yeah,
too.
you too. You
All right,
too.
bye now.
Yep.